It is Monday, the 6th of May, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. Hello, and welcome back to Pigeon Song of the Day, Week 2. Made it through the first week. Yippee! I think it's been going well so far. So obviously I record these episodes in advance. This is the first episode that I have recorded since I started uploading episodes. So, it's only really been friends and family who have seen the episodes so far, but I'm happy with how it's turning out, honestly. The uploading to recording to editing schedule is working out fine, and I've gotten some good reception from the rare people who have listened to it, so I'm happy to continue. This second week doesn't have a particular theme to it. I'm just going to talk about more songs I like, so let's get right into it. The song that we're doing today is At the Bottom of Everything by Bright Eyes. Now, I don't know what first got me into Bright Eyes. I know that Jack Conte's cover of First Day of My Life is something that got me to listen to more of them. But I don't think that was my first contact with them. I think it would have been one of two friends I had who were very big into Bright Eyes, who probably turned me onto them first. But this song in particular, I remember sticking with me, and we'll get into that afterwards. But it would have been like about 12, 13, 14 years ago at this point that I got into Bright Eyes. And the album that this is from, I'm Wide Awake It's Morning, is still one of my favorite albums of all time. Really like it. I unfortunately haven't listened to that much other Bright Eyes. I've listened to their first album, and I've listened to the album that was released at the exact same time as this. This album's a largely acoustic album, and then at the same time they released a electronic album called Digital Ashes and a Digital Urn. So I've listened to those two. I've listened to their first, and I've listened to their most recent one from a few years ago, which I really liked. I need to listen to the rest of them, but I haven't. Anyway, before we listen to it, I just want to let you know there is a long spoken intro section. It's part of the song. Just bear with it. It's important. It can seem quite long, but it's important to the song. Also, the YouTube version I'm linking will probably be the music video, even though the music video is in very low quality on YouTube, but I couldn't find... The only other version of the song I could find on YouTube was a version with the intro cut out, which I want you to hear the intro. So anyway, let's listen to it now, and we'll come back and talk about it in a sec. So yeah, that's the song. It's a hell of a thing. In contrast to the more... it's melodic, but Conor Oberst's voice is very different to the other singers we've had on the show so far. People tend to categorize his work as depressing, and it often is. There's an energy behind his voice that I really like. Makes it not... depressing is it just feels like such a put down. But his music is again, there's just this unexplainable energy to it that I really like, and that makes it really cool and good to listen to, even when the songs aren't happy, So the song itself, so there's that long spoken intro, which starts with him taking a sip of presumably whiskey. I don't know why I've always pictured whiskey. And then he launches into the long opening monologue, which is the story told in the music video. And it can be taken literally, or it can be seen as metaphorical for the whole situation, which makes more sense. Because you have this woman who is bored and reading a magazine article about a country she doesn't pronounce the name of. And then the plane starts crashing, and the pilot's apologizing and everything, but all she asks the guy beside her is, "Where are we going?" And he says, "We're going to a party. It's a birthday party. It's your birthday party. Happy birthday, darling. We love you very, 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 very much." This is something that me and my friends who were big into Bright Eyes would quote to each other a lot on our birthdays. I think it's funny that I picked this song because I realized earlier today, I was like, oh, this has a bit about birthdays in it. I should have done it last week, but oh well. It feels like she doesn't know what to do because the plane is crashing, and he says this, "We're going to a birthday." It seems like he's just trying to reassure her. It's reassurance through denial. But also at the same time, I saw someone point out, you could take it as a commentary on reincarnation. We'll be reborn in the afterlife because the plane will crash, and it's our birthday party. We're being reborn into the afterlife or something like that, right? The rest of the song is it's a call to action to care about the world, is how I read it, because it talks about all these things. Talking every telephone, get eaten off the web, rip out all the epilogues from the books that we have read, which is probably a Dead Poets Society reference. Into the face of every criminal strapped firmly to a chair, we must stare, we must stare, we must stare. One would assume that it's referring to the electric chair, and the idea of staring into their eyes while they're being electrocuted, it's very morbid, but I think the implication is look at what you've done, look at what humans are capable of doing, to kind of confront death in that way, right? We must take all of the medicines too expensive now to sell because, of course, capitalism has made medicine something to profit on off and nothing else. Set fire to the preacher who's promising us hell. I mean, it's an irony thing, but also I would take it as a sort of an atheist commentary of like, religion won't help us. And then, into the ear of every anarchist that sleeps but doesn't dream, we must sing, we must sing, we must sing. I assume that's like saying, encourage those people to get off their asses, right? The chorus is the thing that always stuck with me. While my mother waters plants, my father loads his gun. He says death will give us back to God just like the setting sun is returned to the lonesome ocean. Jesus fucking Christ. For one thing, it contrasts watering plants is giving life, and loading a gun implies taking a life, right? Whether it's his own or someone else's. Death will give us back to God. So again, that idea of the plane crash resulting in reincarnation or something like that. Just like the setting sun is returned to the lonesome ocean. The language here is just so sad and lonesome. And then it goes back to the plane narrative, and then they splash into the deep blue sea. Oh, it was a wonderful splash. Again, kind of having that like denial, upbeatness to it. And then we must blend into the choir, sing ecstatic with the whole. We must memorize 9 numbers and deny we have a soul. And in this endless race for property and privilege to be won, we must run, we must run, we must run. This is Conor Oberst at his most. We live in a society. But it's very good. The 9 numbers thing is a social security numbers reference. I assume that's not it's a different thing in Ireland. That whole verse is about being a sheep and not being an individual, going with society and just going along with whatever people tell you. We must hang up in the belfry where the bats in moonlight laugh. We must stare into a crystal ball and only see the past. Into the caverns of tomorrow with just our flashlights and our love. We must plunge, we must plunge, we must plunge. And it's, again, this idea of staring into a crystal ball and only seeing the past. It makes me think of those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. I think that's the quote. We have to look at our shitty past so we can continue to do better. Plunge into the caverns of tomorrow with just our flashlights and our love, hoping that we can do better through love. And the bridge, we'll get down there, way down to the very bottom of everything, and then we'll see it. Oh, we'll see it. We'll see it. It's interesting to me that he doesn't specify what it is, but I kind of read it as like, we get down there, way to the bottom of everything. So you could think of it as the plane crashing to the bottom of the ocean. You could think of it as going to hell as the bottom of everything, or it could just be like, when we are at our lowest, we'll see our way out of the hole. When we're at the very bottom of everything, we'll see what we've done and we'll work our way back up, And then at the end, it's, oh, my morning's coming back, the whole world's waking up, all the city buses swimming past, I'm happy just because I found out I am really no one. And that's like, I feel like it's kind of an anti-nihilist thing. It's like, life doesn't matter, so why not be happy, right? I'm happy just because I found out I am really no one. It's that kind of like ego death, but a positive ego death for some reason. I mean, that's all the lyrics. It's just a really interesting song with the language he uses and the things that he talks about, usually implying the opposite thing, or saying like, this thing is bad and we need to work against that, right? I said in my notes, it's about the destructiveness of ignorance. Like, ignoring the problems of the world is not going to help anything. We need to actually fight for it. That's what it feels like the message is. I do want to comment on the music video as well, that it has Terrence Stamp and Evan Rachel Wood in it, both actors that I thoroughly enjoy. So it's wild seeing them in a Bright Eyes music video. Also, it took me ages to realize that it was Jim James from My Morning Jacket doing the backing vocals, but if you've ever listened to Jim James, it makes so much sense once you know that, because he has such a distinctive voice. I will definitely be covering other songs by Bright Eyes, particularly from this album, because I love it a lot, but I wanted to start with this one because it's a great song to start talking about Bright Eyes about, and it's a great song, and I hadn't listened to it in a while, and I really enjoyed listening to it just now. To talk about it here, I don't know that I have much to say, honestly, apart from just reading and kind of analyzing the lyrics. I just really like that song, and that's why I'm doing this whole fucking show, isn't it? Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to leave comments, send this podcast to your friends who enjoy music. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.